sees and partisan activists getting their talking points ahead of time. Back when Ronald Reagan ran for president, we didn't even have cable news networks. And so people had a convention, and it wasn't just the speech that they watched, but as Steve was just saying, the talk marinated for a while. The whole discussion was about what Ronald Reagan might have said or what Jimmy Carter might have said, and it was the news coverage that went with it. Right now, we're not having that kind of discussion, and because the news cycle moves so fast, we're going to see the same kind of a challenge for President Obama at the end of his convention, because Friday morning, a new comes out that will take away some of the coverage of the Democratic convention.
Steve, you tell me, you've been covering this for a while, each side can find a way to justify its own beliefs, right? Like, if bounce matters and President Obama gets one out of this week, then the Democrats will be telling us that the bounce is critical. Look back at these elections where the bounce was so predictive of the outcome. And the same is true on the other side, because you can find, it's almost half and half, isn't it? It's almost equally divided. Half the times you got a bounce, you won, and half the times you got a bounce, you lost.
Right, I think that's right. And look, the Democrats may have some small advantage because their arguments here, that the speeches that they make, the excitement that you feel in the hall here for Democrats will have a chance to sort of resonate and sit out there for a couple days. So they may have a slight advantage in that. But I agree with Scott's big takeaway point. I mean, these are about macro issues. This is about the big picture. The race has been remarkably stable now for several months. I think basically if you look at the next 64 days, we're going to be talking about which candidate and which party can better make the case that they are in a position of leadership, that they're willing to lead the country, take the country by talking about the big issues in the direction that voters want. And that's ultimately, I think, who will win the election.
Scott, you mentioned the swing state polling earlier, and I want to ask you before I let you go what you are seeing in that, because as much as we like to pretend that states like New York, where most of us live, and California matter, maybe not so much, I think.